Oh my god. The cover. Let's dive right into this. Hi everyone, my name is Tia. I want to share some of my 2024 most anticipated releases. I compiled a list of 50. Doing the research and finding what books sounded fun honestly gets me so excited for the new year and like what's to come and what's to release. So I am super excited to be sharing these with you. Hopefully you can find at least one book that piques your interest. Each genre is going to be organized by release date, so it's going to go in chronological order. I've got my class notes here and my little microphone. Class is in session. Let's dive right into this. Let's start off strong with romances. On January 16th, Say You'll Be Mine by Nina Kumar is coming out. Now, actually, I have already read this. I got it as an advanced reader copy, and I absolutely adored this romance. A grumpy sunshine, fake engagement. You follow Meghna. She is kind of an unsatisfied theater teacher. She actually aspires to be a playwright. Her parents introduce her to a guy named Karthik, and he is an engineer who's really only concerned about his next job promotion and also getting his parents off of his back about finding a wife. So they actually kind of both have something to gain, so they agree to do this fake engagement. It was such a refreshing read. There was so much culture in it because they're both Indian, and the characters are very well fleshed out, which makes you care about their romance even more. It is so sweet. Coming out on the same day, January 16th, we have Love Me by Jessica Saunders. Now, Rachel is living her girl boss, lawyer, mom of 2 kids life. She has kind of a whatever husband, according to the premise, when nudes or like some kind of racy photos of her and her high school boyfriend are leaked to the press because her boyfriend at the time, he's now this hotshot actor. So Rachel is thrown into the spotlight and she gets to ask herself, how did I get here and what do I really want? This novel embraces the truth that some old flames can't be stuffed out, no matter how many years go by. So this is kind of giving Carly Fortune vibes where like it sounds like they're not over their ex or like there's something going on, you know what I mean? But I'm still excited because it sounds like some kind of second chance romance. And also regarding like the what do I really want question, I think that's going to be a super interesting thing in the book. Coming out on January 23rd, we've got The Getaway List by Emma Lord. And Emma Lord is one of my favorite YA authors. Coming of age story where Riley is trying to discover who she really is or what she really wants right fresh out of high school. Her childhood best friend is living in New York City, so she goes to visit him. Childhood best friends? She goes to visit him in the Big Apple, and they're just kind of learning about each other, what they've missed, what about themselves that they're trying to discover. I thought it was super sweet. Oh my god. Okay, that's what I'm super excited for. I actually just received the ARC this morning because I emailed them yesterday. I was like, please can I have this book? I Hope This Doesn't Find You by Anne Liang. It comes out February 6th. And the synopsis describes this book as To All the Boys I Loved Before if Laura Jean wrote hate mail instead of love letters. The hater core in me is like singing. Doesn't that just sound awful? Oh, the drama of it all. So I'm really excited to dig my teeth into that one, and classic Anne Liang style. It is an academic rivals to lovers, so I'm excited. I really enjoyed her other novel, If You Could See the Sun. That one had like an unexpected invisible element. Like she turns invisible, and that's not a spoiler. That's in the premise. I'm kind of excited to see this more contemporary romance take from Anne Liang. Oh, I can't wait. We have ASAP by Axie O, which comes out February 6th as well. This is a second chance romance, it sounds like. So there's a first book from Axie O called XOXO. What I've heard about that book is like it's like a K-pop insert your name type book, but it's really enjoyable. It's a YA. I've heard really good things about it actually. ASAP apparently has side characters from XOXO. I haven't read either. The books both look good. The cover is stunning. I just love how it's like XOXO and then ASAP. That's cute. Oh, and then on the same day, I guess February 6th is gonna be a big day for us, you guys. Tia Williams. I love that we share the same name. That's so cool. I always get a kick out of seeing Tias in the wild. She is releasing a love song for Ricky Wilde. So it follows this Atlanta socialite. She wants to own her own flower shop. So she packs her bags and she follows her dreams, of course, in New York City. And she meets a handsome, deeply mysterious stranger. And their lives are uniquely and irreversibly linked. And I just think that sounds really intriguing. It's an epic love story, 100 years in the making. set against the background of modern Harlem and Renaissance glamour. That's just a loaded premise. It sounds really good. Okay. Queer romance time. How You Get the Girl by Anita Kelly, coming out the day before Valentine's Day. The cover, let's just take a moment. The cover. Oh my gosh. So this is a workplace rom-com. The coach of a high school basketball team ropes in one of the players' moms to be her assistant coach because the mom, apparently she was like a big college basketball star. It sounds like also a fake dating situation. So there's like workplace romance, fake dating. I'm already eating it up. An arc that I already have read is going to be Happily Never After by Lynn Painter. This comes out March 12th. I thought this premise was honestly hysterical. So Max literally has a side hustle in which he gets paid to be the person who objects during wedding ceremonies. Like, oh, does anyone object to this whatever matrimony? And he's like, I do. Actually, the husband is a cheating mother. He helps people get out of marriages that they don't want to go through with. And this is how Max and Sophie meet. Sophie is a bride that actually hires Max to help her get away from her to-be husband. The chemistry in this book, undeniable. You have to be prepared for like so much smut, you guys. Like, this book is pure physical chemistry. But regardless, I liked it. Icarus by Kay Ancrum comes out March 26th. The cover alone also phenomenal. This is a YA retelling of Icarus as a star-crossed love story between a young art thief and the son of the man he's been stealing from. That sounds so good. So it's a queer Icarus retelling. Sign me up. Oh my god, another queer one. You can tell I get so excited. I have requested this on NetGalley, but I haven't heard anything back. This is Here We Go Again by Allison Cochran. It comes out on April 2nd. This one is so funny. So old high school besties, Logan and Rosemary, they are basically forced to take a road trip together in their 30s after not speaking for 10 years. Their former teacher, I guess, has some kind of terminal illness, which is very sad, and he only has a few months to live, and one of his dying wishes is that this teacher and these two students, they must have had like some really close mentorship relationship. I don't know. He wants them to take a cross-country road trip together before he passes. And that is so sad. But like, just listen. Stuffed into the gayest van west of the Mississippi, the three embark on a life-changing summer trip that will chart a new future and perhaps lead them back to one another. Oh my gosh. And the road trip is very much giving Mrs. Ashes and Nash's vibes, and that is a book by Sarah Adler that I read this year. I absolutely love that book. So I think I am a sucker for this very specific niche of road trip romances with obvious tension. Like, the tension is stuck in the motorized vehicle, and for some reason that really gets me going. And we've got Late Bloomer by Maisie Eddings. This comes out April 16th. This is sapphic and opposites attract. Need I say more? So one lesbian, she buys a farm because she has had her heart broken. She's like, I'm done with people. I'm gonna go live on a farm, live out my dreams. Peace. But then she moves to her farm, right? And then she finds another lesbian on the property. And this lesbian is like, what are you doing on my property? This is my farm. Neither one of them want to move out of the farmhouse, so it sounds like this is forced proximity somehow. And Funny Story by Emily Henry comes out April 23rd. I am sure no one needs an introduction to EH. I used to be an Emily Henry hater, truthfully, but then she wrote Happy Place specifically for me. She wrote Happy Place to win me over and ruin my life, and she succeeded. I like the premise of this one. She gets dumped by her fiance because he realizes that he's in love with his childhood best friend, okay? So that fucking sucks. But then she, our main character, she decides to be roomies with the fiance's childhood best friend's ex-boyfriend. In her head, she's like, this guy is the only motherfucker who's gonna understand my predicament. You know what I mean? That sounds so messy. There's no way Daphne would actually start her new chapter by falling in love with her ex-fiance's new fiance's ex. ... Right? Better by Far by Hazel Hayes, which I think is a funny name. Hazel Hayes. This comes out April 23rd as well. And truthfully, this does not sound romantic really at all, but it's love adjacent, so I didn't feel like it quite fit in the general fiction genre. This is a gender-bending story about love and loss, hope and heartbreak, and the healing to be found in life's little limbos. Those in-between spaces where you're no longer who you were and not yet the person you will be. I'm excited for this one. So after the couple breaks up, they actually decide to continue sharing their house until the lease runs out in 3 months' time. But they alternate week by week. So like he stays in the house 1 week and then she moves in. So they're not necessarily sharing the space, but it's a shared space. Doesn't that sound so fucking sad? But very intriguing. So, ooh. And speaking of Miss Sarah Adler, who wrote Mrs. Ashes and Ashes, I just recently found that she's coming out with a new book next year, which is blowing my mind. I'm so friggin' excited. Happy Medium. I will read everything and anything that Sarah Adler releases from now on. I was so impressed with the humor and the heart in Mrs. Nash's Ashes. I'm excited already for Happy Medium. I didn't even need to read the premise and I added this to my TBR. This woman, she admits to being a con medium. Like she can't actually talk to ghosts, but she loves stealing from the rich. As she should. Some rich dude, I guess, hires her to try to get rid of the ghost at this farm he's trying to sell. But of course, right, the farmer is not like this ugly guy. He's a super buff, super hot farmer boy. Then surprisingly, there's like actually a ghost at the farm that this woman can talk to. So she has to convince the farmer that the ghost is real. She has to help get rid of the farm's curse with him. And like, no, deadass, like Sarah Adler's writing is so funny. I already know I'm really gonna enjoy this. To save the goat farm, it's Friendly Phantom and the man she's beginning to love. Gretchen will need to pull off the greatest con of her being fully, genuinely herself. Ooh. A Crane Among Wolves by June Her is coming out May 14th. First of all, again, the cover is stunning. Wow. This is a Korean historical fantasy / romance, but it seems to lean more towards the romance than the fantasy. There's this tyrant who steals this girl's sister, so she essentially has to leave her village, try and go save her sister, and this is where she meets the prince. The prince is actually also trying to dethrone his half-brother. The tagline for this book is "Save her sister, free the people, destroy a tyrant." Oh my god. Wow. Another book. This is just banger after banger. Seriously, I already wrote them down, but I would love if you wrote them down too. Every book on this list I'm so jazzed about. So Everyone I Kissed Since You Got Famous by May Marvel comes out on June 11th. And this looks like a second chance romance. I'm a slut for second chance romances. This is about two high school sweethearts. Katie is apparently an actress now. She's home in Wisconsin for the holidays where she meets her ex, Will Green, again. And I don't know, something about kissing other people. I don't know, but I'm excited. And another very prominent romance author, Christina Lauren, is coming out with The Paradise Problem on May 14th. So again, Christina Lauren does not need an introduction. These frickin' white ladies write banter like no other. It is so good and I eat it up every time. This is some kind of like arranged or fake marriage. The guy is apparently gonna inherit $100 million fucking dollars when he hits his 5-year marriage anniversary, and Anna, the wife, has to meet his asshole rich family for the first time so he can get the money. Liam will have to ask himself if the price tag on his flimsy cover story is worth losing true love that sprouted from a lie. Ooh. And apparently she's like super sassy and tries to tell off these rich parents. I'm excited for it. Ooh. Okay, this one this is an arc that I already got. How It Works Out by Miriam LaCroix comes out May 21st. The description says it's a queer love story played out in many alternate realities. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Lesbians in love in different timelines. Like, what more could you ask for? Like, that just sounds so interesting. Look at all these adjectives they use in this premise. Sexy, profane, unsentimental, darkly comic, gut-wrenching, and achingly tender. I guess all at the same time. The tag is, what if you had the chance to rewrite the course of your relationship again and again in hopes that it would work out? Oh my god, stop. I think this is gonna be my next read because it's been sitting on my Kindle and this is just igniting the fire under my ass to want to read it. Second chance romance, ? Alternate realities. Oh my god, queer love. I fuck all those 3 things. And then this one comes on my birthday, June 4th. Pardon My Frenchie by Fair Roshan, which I think is such a funny title. There's like a cute little French bulldog in the cover. It's giving Disneyland, but without the copyright. What is it called? Like Billionaire Dreamland or whatever? Castle's really giving don't sue us. But I love it. It is an enemies to lovers story because she has got a successful dog boarding business. Listen to this. It's called Barkingham Palace. And she's trying to expand into like some type of dog treat bakery. But the building she wants is going to the surly grandson of one of her favorite customers, who's not a dog person or a people person. But then, you guys, this is what got me. He starts having to take care of his sick grandma's dog. And then the two main characters' dogs start liking each other. Like the dogs become friends. So then it's like forced proximity, enemies to lovers. Oh god, the little dogs. Oh my god, I'm like so excited. I'm kind of sweaty, but it's cold in here. Catherine Center on June 11th is coming out with the rom-commers. I read The Bodyguard and I also read, what is it? That like face romance she had out. And I found both of them to just kind of be wild in the last 20% of the book. Like I feel like the third act, whatever, is just crazy to me. But am I gonna read this? Yeah. The premise sounds like something that is ages old. Like people have been doing this since the dawn of time, but we been eating it up since. Charlie is a screenwriter, and of course he does not believe in love at all. So he tries to write this romantic comedy and it sucks. Emma, she's a diehard rom-com lover. She has the opportunity to rewrite Charlie's script. Of course, she's like, I can fix him. I can convince him that true love exists by kissing him. Another Christina Lauren book that I'm super excited for, Tangled Up on June 25th. This looks like a take on that Disney movie Tangled, which is a take on the classic fairy tale Rapunzel. But this looks cute nonetheless. So they meet in college when suddenly they're thrown out of the frying pan and into the fire on a road trip that will lead them into the most unexpected directions. Out on the open road, the world somehow shifts and the unlikely pair realize that maybe the key to the dreams they've both been chasing have been sitting next to them the whole time. So it's another road trip romance, friends to lovers, question mark possibly. That sounds good. And then I Do Not Shut Up About 4 Weekends and a Funeral by Ellie Palmer. This comes out August 6th. I've talked about it, I think a couple times at least. It is one of the top romances I read this year, and it is so unfortunate that it is not released yet because I need everyone and their mom to read it right now. It is very much a love letter to 90s rom-coms, but truth be told, my family has never really even been a movie watching family, so like a lot of those references went over my head. Like I kind of knew that that was like a theme, but I don't think I have any personal connection to it. But regardless, I think this is the perfect rom-com type of book. It has a really interesting twist on the fake dating trope because Allison, she's attending her ex-boyfriend Sam's funeral when she's roped into pretending that Allison and Sam are still dating. So instead of like the ex-girlfriend who's sad about her fling passing away, she's like the mourning, grieving current girlfriend. Oh god. And then at Sam's funeral, she meets Adam, and Adam is literally Nick from New Girl in the best ways possible. And Adam is Sam's best friend. Oh, see, it's so messy. It's just so messy. To top it all off, Allison and Adam end up like having to clean Sam's apartment up together to get it ready to sell because he passed away. Oh my god. I think this ticked so many boxes for me. I love this book. I couldn't recommend it enough. The Pairing by Casey McQuiston comes out also on August 6th. I really like 2 out of the 3 Casey McQuistons I've read. 2 bisexual exes accidentally book the same European food and wine tour, and they challenge each other to an international hookup competition in order to prove that they're over one another. It ends with, and they are over each other, right? Messy. And then the last romance I have on my list that I'm looking forward to is The Breakup Pact by Emma Lord, August 13th. Friends to lovers, second chance, romance, fake, dating, superiority. 2 besties, they have not spoken in like 10 years, and they end up fake dating because each of their respective breakups, they separately end up going viral. So then they reconnect, and I'm excited. So with those romances out of the way, we're going to move on to my general fiction, historical fiction, literary fiction genre. I have kind of some trouble categorizing those in my head, so I literally just lump them together. The first one is The Storm We Made by Vanessa Chan. This comes out January 2nd. This is a historical fiction in which a Malayan mom becomes a spy for the invading Japanese forces during World War II. And this happens in the 1930s. So in her head, she thinks she's doing the right thing. thing, but flash forward to 1945, she's literally like seeing the effects or the consequences of her actions in the shape of her family that's falling apart. It's said to be a dazzling saga about the horrors of war, the fraught relationships between the colonized and their oppressors, and the ambiguity of right and wrong when survival is at stake. So this just sounds so haunting, so beautiful. Family by Lori Frankel comes out January 23rd, and Lori Frankel is an author that I'm a huge fan of. Like, This Is How It Always Is, 1, 2, 3. I always gravitate towards her work. So I have this on my Kindle. It's been sitting in my NetGalley account for months at this point, so I definitely need to get to it soon. But India, our main character, she grew up wanting to be a famous actress, and now she is. And her next movie is actually about adoption. She herself is an adoptive mom in real life, and she's tired of the same old story. Oh, like tragedy, like adoption. So she tells the media, she straight up tells the paparazzi, like, this is a shit movie. I feel like she should have gotten more media training or something. Now she has to battle with the press, protesters. She's struggling balancing her own family life, like the narrative surrounding their personal lives in the public eye. The tagline is, "Not all stories of adoption are stories of pain and regret. Not even most of them. Why don't we ever get that movie?" And I just think that's really awesome. I think Lori Frankel always has some really interesting takes and always writes about very like nuanced topics. Like This Is How It Always Is regarding a non-binary / transgender child figuring out their self-identity and how the parents embrace that. And then subsequently, the parents are like ostracized by their neighborhood and their society. So I just really love Lori Frankel's writing. Her stories are always very interesting. Come and Get It by Kylie Reed comes out January 30th. Held that away from you so you didn't have to hear my slurps. Oh my god. Oh, I choked on my sips. Okay. Whew. So Millie, she is a senior at the University of Arkansas, and then a visiting English professor offers her a job opportunity that apparently like she can't refuse. And then Millie kind of gets drawn into some shady stuff that she probably shouldn't get involved with because of this professor. This is a fresh and intimate portrait of desire, consumption, and reckless abandon. And I think that's really interesting. I feel like this book will have a lot to say about power dynamics. I'm excited to see what that book has to offer. And then Interesting Facts About Space by Emily Austin comes out January 30th. I also just got approved from this on NetGalley, so I'm super excited about it. This is a fast-paced, hilarious, and ultimately hopeful novel for anyone who has ever worried they might be a terrible person. I was like, oh, this book was made for me. Add. Like, no hesitation. From the premise alone, our main character's name is Enid. I think I'm saying that right. E-N-I-D. Girl boss is a hot mess. I know she's a mess for a reason, but let me just tell you, she's got a phobia of bald men. She loves space. She continues to date a rotation of women on dating apps, blah, blah, blah. She starts to become suspicious that someone's following her, and as her paranoia gets worse, Enid must contend with the morning suspicion that something is seriously wrong with her. Because at the end of the day, there's only one person she can't outrun: herself. Ooh, you got me there. Clover Hendry's Day Off is by Beth Morey, and this comes out January 30th. Clover is 46, and she's literally never said no in her life, which sounds like an awful way to live. Until one day, she just says, fuck it. And she lets loose, and she lets her entire life like completely unravel in a day after being so fed up with everything. It is a joyful, raging, galvanizing story about putting life on pause, pleasing yourself, and getting your own back, whatever it takes. Because when Clover stops caring, she can start living. And I'm sure that has some really important sentiments, right? Putting yourself first, like living life to the fullest, blah, blah, blah. I'm excited. Significant Others by Zoe Eisenberg is going to be published on February 6th. Now, these two college roommates turned best friends are now two girl bosses in their 30s, and they turn out to be very codependent upon one another. One of them has a one-night stand and gets pregnant, and then these two women decide to raise the child together. And I want to make it clear that like the premise, there's no mention of LGBTQ, queer, like this is very much about female friendships. So I don't want anyone going into it thinking they're gonna get a queer story when this sounds like it is very much a platonic story. So they're planning this life together, and then boom, the baby daddy shows up. Suddenly, these women have to reconcile with the fact that for the first time in 18 years, they might not want the same thing. And I think that's so interesting. Okay. Guys, welcome to the Hyamdong Bookshop by Huang Bo Rim and translated by Shanna Tan. I'm so sorry if that sounds so awful in pronunciation, but this truly looks like the coziest book I'm ever gonna read in my entire life. It looks so sweet. So our main character, she is a burnt out corporate woman, but she decides to quit, divorce her hubby, and open up a bookshop in the suburbs, like follow her dreams. And this kind of just follows her journey in creating an inviting space for lost souls to rest, heal, and remember that it's never too late to scrap the plot and start again. That sounds really cute. Piglet by Lottie Hazel, coming out March 5th, is another arc that has been sitting too long on my Kindle shelf. Ooh, but look at the cover, okay? Comment your McDonald's order, right? So mine actually used to be the Big Mac. I used to fuck up the Big Mac. But nowadays, I like to eat oh my god, my stomach just growled. I like to eat 2 spicy McChickens. Yum. Anyway, my only hesitation about this book is that the main character's name is Piglet. Guys, I know, her name is Piglet. I will say, the main character does not like this fact either, so I think we have to give it to this book. It is a sad childhood nickname that the main character could not shake, so I think we need to overlook that. If Piglet doesn't like the name Piglet, then we could just move on. Piglet has a fiance, but the fiance, fucking stupid ass, he ends up betraying Piglet like 2 weeks before their wedding, and for some reason that the premise doesn't talk about, unbeknownst to me, they decide to move forward with the wedding. But then Piglet, she starts acting kind of really unsettled and behaving in ways that she can't explain. They call her hungry. And obviously it's deeper than just stress eating, but I'm excited to kind of dig deeper into that and find out what the hell they're talking about. It is a razor sharp debut about women's ambitions and appetites and the truth about having it all. I'm very much intrigued by the premise. Okay. Then we have Women of Good Fortune by Sophie Wan. This comes out March 5th. This is set in a high society Shanghainese wedding. It's very typical in some Asian cultures to give out red envelopes with money stuffed in them as a wedding gift. So this bride and her 2 best friends, they plan on stealing all the fucking money. This sounds so fun. It's like Ocean's 8, but Shanghainese wedding version. It just sounds so fun. This is right up my alley and I'm really excited about it. Never Been Better by Leanne Simpson comes out March 5th and I loved reading this arc. I really did. I think it's a super refreshing take on mental health and hospitalization. Like, she does not shy away from the realities of how difficult it is for people, and I think that we need more of it. The 3 main characters are coined as the 3 musketeers of the psych ward, which is, oh my god. They're all besties, but one of them, her name is Dee. Dee has a crush on Matt. Okay, but the problem with that is that Matt and their other bestie, Misa, they too are engaged, Matt and Misa. So it's like this super messy navigation about life, love, friendships, mental health, loss, hardship, with just like some hilarious fucking characters and just, again, really heartfelt message about taking care of yourself, putting yourself first. This revels in the heartache and hilarity of falling in love when you haven't quite figured out how to live with yourself. I loved this book. I really did. Victim by Andrew Borgia comes out March 12th, and this follows Javier Perez, and he wants to be a famous writer, and he learns early on in his life that playing the diversity card, or kind of playing that victim card, can help him win in like the gamification of life and like playing the ladder. He kind of spins his narrative of having a murdered drug dealer dad, single broke mom. He's got a best friend who was involved in a gang. Now the best friend is in prison. He knew that college applications would kind of eat his story up, so he gets the scholarship to this super prestigious college where he continues to embellish his past and build himself a life that might not reflect like who he actually is as a person. The tagline is, "There's a fine line between bending the truth and telling bald-faced lies, and Javier Perez is willing to cross it." This just sounds super interesting. I'm very much excited to hear what they have to say about like a marginalized character kind of taking advantage. of the diversity card, or like the victim card. The next one is definitely one of my most anticipated reads of next year. It is called Memory Peace by Lisa Ko. This comes out on March 19th, and I freaking love Lisa Ko's writing. Her book, The Leavers, I read it a couple months ago, and it was such a solid 5 stars for me. Like, without a doubt, it was so good. Moving from the pre-digital 1980s to the art and tech subcultures of the 1990s to a strikingly imagined portrait of the 1940s, Memory Peace is an innovative and audacious story of 3 lifelong friends as they strive to build satisfying lives in a world that turns out to be radically different from the one they were promised. So spanning multiple decades and multiple, like, kind of navigating the art of technology from before freaking email, cell phones, any of that were even invented. I think that is going to be super fun. Nosy Neighbors by Freya Sampson comes out April 2nd. I'm actually in the middle of reading this arc right now, and I find it like cute and interesting enough to add it in this list. There's an apartment, of course, with like all these weird, wacky neighbors. You've got this like super paranoid old little lady. She literally writes down like 10:59, person with coat walked through the door. She looks out her window and does that all day. And then you've got this 25-year-old who is temporarily just renting a room from one of the other neighbors when the building is announced to be demolished. And then one of the residents actually gets hurt because he is trying to protest the demolition. And it's believed to be foul play. So you get to follow this very unlikely partnership as they kind of try and solve this crime. I put this in general fiction because I feel like they don't quite focus on the crime solving aspect of it. It's more about like the relationship dynamics of the apartment building. And I'm liking it so far, definitely. We need to talk about Cinema Love by Jiaming Tang. It comes out on May 7th, and I feel like, was one of the best books I read this year. A staggering, tender epic about gay men in rural China and the women who marry them. Jesus Christ. So you follow this group of Chinese immigrants to their lives in rural China when they're younger to when they decide to immigrate, move to Chinatown in New York City. And you get to see how this, I think it's a group of 6 or 8 people, how their lives are intertwined over the span of several decades. And it's just like this beautiful, gut-wrenching story about grief, survival, immigration, love. Oh my God. It had so much jam-packed in this novel, and it was phenomenally written. It was so good. I love this book. And a sequel that I am so stinking looking forward to is The Guncle Abroad by Stephen Rowley, or Rowley. I always forget how to say his last name, but this comes out May 21st, and it is a sequel to The Guncle, which I read in December of last year, and I think it was like surprisingly one of my favorite reads of 2022. It had so much heart into it. I was just blown away by how natural the dialogue was in that book and how funny the book was, all while maintaining that like sad but true, heartfelt message about grief and life in general. I was so floored by how genuine it felt. So the Guncle is the gay Uncle Patrick. He's the guppy. Gay Uncle Pat has his uncle duties at like some family wedding in Italy. I didn't really glean too much of the premise. Personally, I don't want to give anything of myself away, but please read The Guncle and please look out for the sequel. I love how the author writes kids. It's not belittling in any way. Like, if you've read books with kids and you're like, this is so fucking stupid, you've never met a kid in your entire life. You know what I mean? This book was the opposite of that. The audiobook is so insanely good because the author himself narrates it. Oh, this is just something I'm genuinely like so looking forward to. And then Exhibit by R.O. Kwan is coming out on May 21st. And this seems like a queer literary fiction book. 2 artistic women. One of them is married. And they meet at a party, and something about how their lives just are irrevocably changed from there. As Jin and Lidija, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, they become more entangled, they realize that they share more than the ferocity of their ambition and begin to explore their hidden desires. Something is ignited in Jin. Her art, her body, and her sense of self irrevocably changed. But can she avoid the specter of the curse? Apparently there's like this family curse. She wasn't supposed to tell anyone about it. And of course she tells this random stranger that she's attracted to at this party. And so now they're trying to solve the curse together or something. Vital, bold, powerful, and deeply moving. This book asks, how brightly can you burn before you light your life on fire? And the last book I have in this category is The Wedding People by Alison Espach. This comes out July 30th. I finished this, I believe, a month or two ago, and I thought this was just such an interesting premise and a really good read. Phoebe, she books a fancy hotel room because she's planning on committing suicide that night. I know it sounds like really heavy, and I feel like I jumped into that, but I also feel like the way she approached this book didn't feel that heavy, but in a good way, like in a sensitive way where it didn't feel like trauma dumping. It was really a topic that you could talk about. This is a very approachable book that sheds light on mental health and digging yourself out of a hole in a way that doesn't feel shameful at all or taboo. So anyway, the bride finds out that Phoebe is gonna off herself, and the bride is like, Jesus Christ, do not do that. Do not fuck up my $1 million wedding with your dead body, girl boss. Like, you're not doing that. So then Phoebe gets roped into this wedding and becomes a wedding person, along with all the wedding people, her, Phoebe, the bride, the groom. They all get a new lease on life. The Wedding People is a look at the winding paths we take to places we never imagined, and the chance encounters it sometimes takes to reroute us. This story was honestly like so fun. I loved learning and watching all the characters grow, and it was a really, really good book. I truly hope you check The Wedding People out. Okay. We have 3 fantasy. This is book 42. I haven't shut the fuck up in so long. The first one I have that I'm super stoked about, So Let Them Burn by Camilla Cole. This comes out on January 16th. And let's just take a moment. We need to talk about this cover, because the cover alone should convince you that you want to read it, right? It's just insane. So this is super cool. It is a Jamaican-inspired fantasy where Farron, she's 17, and she can channel the power of the gods. A couple years ago, she actually has already helped her island from the dragon riding empire. She's already liberated her people. So her and her sister, they get invited to this international peace summit because she's super famous. She's why they won the war kind of thing. But then at the summit, her sister bonds with an enemy dragon. What? Oh my god. And so the gods are like insisting that her sister has to die to get rid of this bond between her and the dragon. We get to follow Farron, who is trying to protect her homeland while also trying to save her sister. I think this sounds fantastic. And then I am a newfound Holly Black stan. I love her. The Cruel Prince series, like the Folk of the Air or whatever, that series pulled me out of a reading slump by like its jaws. I would wholeheartedly recommend it as the series that helps you get into fantasy. And so she is releasing The Prisoner's Throne, which is the second Stolen Heir book, and it comes out March 5th. I'm definitely committing to reading Holly Black's other works. I'm just so excited about it. To be honest, I don't know what it's about. I just know that it's tied to some of the Cruel Prince characters. Freaking sign me up. Like, I love that universe. I can't wait to go back in it. And then I'm sure I don't need to tell you about this book. Everyone and their grandma has already heard about this new author, but this is Reckless. This is the second installment of Powerless by Lauren Roberts. It comes out on July 2nd. So Powerless, I've literally heard nothing but positive things about this book. So she self-published it. It was an indie release earlier this year, and then it got picked up by Simon & Schuster in November. I've heard it is like an enemies to lovers. Literally, I cannot wait to get my hands on it. It's just pretty expensive right now, and you guys know I don't really love spending money on books. So I'm just gonna wait until it gets a little bit lower priced, and I fully intend on purchasing it. The tagline for Reckless is traitor, tormented, destined for each other. Oh my god. I've heard her banter superior enemies to lovers goes super hard in the book. I'm just super stoked about the series and where it goes. I've heard a lot of hype, and hopefully it doesn't disappoint. So the last 5 I have are mystery novels. The first one is gonna be Such a Lovely Family by Aggie Thompson. This comes out March 12th. It is set in Washington, D.C. There's like a Richie Rich family. They're hosting, of course, like a Richie Rich dinner party, but apparently there's a brutal Richie Rich murder at the party that happens. So now we really get to dive into this family's dark, twisted secrets and what the hell happened at this party and what led to the murder. Super intriguing plot. Okay, time out. This might be in like the top 3, top 5 most anticipated releases out of all 50 of these. The Reappearance of Rachel Prince by Holly Jackson. This comes out April 2nd, and Holly Jackson, I think truly is like the sole reason why I now love the mystery genre and the thriller genre. I used to be president of Weenie Hut Jr. I stayed very far away from mysteries, and then I decided to give A Good Girl's Guide to Murder a try. One of my favorite YA series ever, probably. Holly Jackson just does not fucking miss. So I'm so stoked for this new release. We follow our main character. She is 18 years old and her mom actually disappeared 16 years ago. So she was 2. She has like literally no recollection of what happened. Her and her family agreed to do a true crime documentary. And while they're fucking filming it, her mom reappears. Oh my God. What I'm most interested in, to be honest, is to see where she takes the story, because I think we've seen media's obsession with true crime podcasts, true crime movies, documentaries, but then we also very much saw like the subsequent societal downfall of exploiting real life people's life altering tragedies for our own sick and twisted curiosity and entertainment. There's so much to be said there, especially since I don't know if this is correct fucking at all. I was at least exposed to like the true crime podcast type multimedia mysteries through A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I feel like since the popularity of that book, those kinds of novels are coming out because there's like a whole genre for that, right? And so I'm kind of hoping that Holly Jackson goes a little bit more into that, digs a little bit deeper in regards to like the victims and the victims' families' perspectives about true crime media as a whole. The next mystery I've got on this list is She's Not Sorry by Mary Kubica. I don't know how to say the last name. This comes out April 2nd. Now, Mary Kubica wrote my all-time favorite adult mystery, Local Woman Missing. It has multiple POVs, town dynamic, really interesting. That is also a huge reason why I love mystery books. But I read the arc earlier this year, actually, and I literally could not put this book down. I really liked it. It was a solid 4 stars for me. I loved the twists, and I feel like her writing is always very tense and suspenseful despite like the domestic thriller genre. Like I still feel like I'm constantly on my toes and like clicking the pages really fast when I read her books. So we follow Megan. She is an ICU nurse and she gets too personally involved or like personally invested in a coma patient's case because it was believed when the coma patient was admitted into the hospital that the coma patient tried to end her life by jumping off a bridge. But as you learn more about this patient's family, the background, you then begin to understand that actually probably someone pushed her off the bridge. I needed to know what happening, and then when the twist happens, like, oh my God, the pacing is just so good. I really love Mary Kubica's writing. I would recommend a lot of her stuff. And A Game of Lies by Claire McIntosh comes out April 23rd. This looks I've never read something like this before. So there's a reality TV show set in the Welsh mountains. Every single contestant has like this deep, dark secret, I guess. If the other people on the show can guess your truth, you don't just get eliminated from the show. Your secret gets aired on fucking national television. Oh my God, that's awful. And they don't know this when they sign up for the show. So the stakes are like way higher than anyone anticipated. While they're in like the remote mountains, one of these people goes missing and then suddenly there's like a dead body. Our detective is actually the main character and we're kind of following the story of her figuring out what the fuck is going on with these people in these goddamn mountains. And The Last Murder at the End of the World by Stuart Torton comes out on May 21st. And this sounds really exciting. It's a little bit sci-fi mystery vibe. There has already been a world apocalypse. There's this deadly fog, like picture the Hunger Games fog, but literally on the entire earth. Bye-bye, everyone. So what's left of the world is this tiny little island where they've built some type of security system in which the fog gets blocked. So there are only like 125 people living on it. It's like a bunch of fishermen, and then there are 3 scientists. And they just like live and they fish and they survive. They're living a fine, peaceful life in this small society they've built. But then one morning, a scientist is found stabbed to death, and then they see that like somehow the security system is glitching. Maybe someone sabotaged it, question mark. They literally only have a few days to figure out what the hell happened to the scientist before the security system absolutely glitches out and they all succumb to this deadly fog. So I think that'll be so suspenseful and like such a tense environment. Oh my gosh. And last but not least, we have Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. This comes out June 18th and it doesn't doesn't even have a cover yet, so maybe I'll just insert a figgy here. I have read one of Riley Sager's book, The Only One Left or something. That one was pretty popular, and I feel like that book also kind of went off its hinges in the last 10% of the novel. So bonkers that it kind of took me out of the story, but I still do want to give his other books a try. Our main character, oh god, this is actually kind of spooky. Our main character, Ethan, his childhood best friend, Billy, went missing when they were 10 years old. But the worst part of it is Ethan and Billy did this like wholesome little tent sleepover in Ethan's backyard. Oh my god, you know exactly where I'm going with this. Ethan freaking wakes up and he's alone. I'm getting chills, you guys. There's like a knife cut out in the tent and Billy is missing. And he's literally never found again. Okay, maybe I'm not like strong enough to read this book. Ethan decides to go back to his childhood town where he grew up, kind of like to investigate 30 years later. So Ethan's like a 40-year-old man now. And of course, it's like this super mysterious, unsettling, spooky town. There's like this random woodsy area behind Ethan's house that Billy used to say when they were kids, monsters roamed. And then there's just this random research institute in the middle of the woods. And of course, that's never good. You know what I mean? That just sounds so scary. I would hate that. So I'm definitely really intrigued by that. Those are my 50 most anticipated reads for 2024. Please let me know if any of them caught your eye. Please let me know if I've missed anything. I have no doubt that I did, but this list was like so fun to curate. This is just like a list of all the tropes that I eat up. So of course, I'm gonna be excited to read them. Please let me know your top 3, top 5. Just let me know in the comments what you're looking forward to in the coming year. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.